Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another session of random not podcasts, random live feeds at random times, and also part of the spontaneous video series. In tonight's topic, a lot of people are asking the difference between the CRT, LCD, and LED. Most people out that are tech smart and very tech savvy know a lot about the difference between the CRT and LCD and LED and the different purposes between the only there's a few things that I'd like to address with the CRTs. Well, personally, I would have to say what I like about the CRT is your image quality really isn't that bad. So even if you do basic office tasks on them years ago and view pictures and browse the web and watch videos with it, and they're really not that bad. Even gaming wise, they've been proven to be good gaming monitors for back in like the mid 90s, mid 2000s, even back in the 80s. A lot of your monochrome monitors, like with the Apple II and some of the competitors, for that time, that was some of the greatest technology that's been around. But nowadays, people are thinking, why would you want a CRT? But with a CRT, even though you got the cathode tube, and usually those CRT monitors will last 5 times the life of an LCD monitor, and some of them will go for years. I would think between 20 to 25, 30 years, some of those cathode tube monitors still are, some are still going strong. There's some that do burn out, but only if you leave it on one image too long. But basically, in my opinion, CRTs aren't really that bad. But one disadvantage is they're bulky, they take up a lot of space, they're very heavy. And when they do quit working and you have to get rid of them, it is very expensive to dump them off. You'd be lucky if you can just get by with only paying $50 to recycle them, depending on your municipality, in what country or state you live in or town. So that's another big factor when you're recycling those monitors. And for LCD wise, depending on what year, most LCDs they pretty much have a good graphical interface for doing the typical, like watching videos and doing schoolwork or your basic internet tasks, video editing. And a lot of them, after I've been testing monitors for years, and actually a lot of them can hold up to a lot of different tasks. As long as the earlier LCDs don't involve like 4K rendering or 4K video, a lot of monitors can keep up to it. But like your earlier monitors, like I have one that's the cream colored one. That one's pretty limited in what kind of video you can throw at it. So even if you hook like a Windows 7 computer up to it, it barely can handle the GUI interface at all. Now, if you're just going into the BIOS, it's perfectly fine. But with a system like Windows 7 or 10, you're not going to be able to do too much with it. As an older LCD like that. That was more made for like Windows 95, ME, 2000, 98, NT, XP, and like the highest that it'll go is like 600 by 800. It was only designed for like 16-bit color or 24 maximum. 32 bit is kind of pushing it with 64-bit. It's a little too rough to handle. So you definitely would not want something like that as your daily driver as an LCD. But after using various different monitors, Dell monitors are really not bad. Doesn't matter how old. I've used Dell monitor LCD from like mid 2000s up to 2010. I think the newest one that I've touched was from 2013, and their quality in their video performance is really superior compared to some monitors I've used. And no, that wasn't. And this is only the highest I've ever used on a Dell monitor would be a DVI, digital video interface. I think that's hopefully what it stands for. But basically, in all respect, Dell just has a good engineering team that designed the LCDs, and even their computers are really good. I've never been let down by Dell. I've had HPs, and not all the HPs have been perfect either. But as far as Dells, I've only had one that had a few flaws over time. Still currently my daily driver. The only thing that worse that ever happened to that was it built up so much dust in it, but that was my own negligence that some of the RAM modules quit working on there. So basically, after all cleaning it out and cleaning and blowing the ports out, I put the modules back in and it worked just fine. So basically, that really. And other than for a while, the integrated sound NIC on there wasn't working at all. And then I turned the computer off for like 6 months to a year. And after that, I fired it back up. I was going to do something else with it. And then sound was working just fine. And I was thinking, how about that? Well, put it back into service as my go-to computer again. So pretty much sums it all up. But what you have to realize is not every monitor is perfect either. Most engineering teams, when they design a monitor, there's usually, I would think, between 6 months to a year of developmental testing and different tests that they conduct with those monitors to see what they're capable of, if there's any flaws. Well, you don't want to buy a brand new monitor and then all of a sudden have it where you turn it on and start using it like an hour or two later, it catches fire and all heck breaks loose. You don't want that. You'd rather have a reputable product where you know it's going to last for years to come, even if it is a little outdated. But even if it is a little bit, it's not bad. It's not the end of the world if you don't have the latest and greatest monitors. So back to that topic of monitor LCDs. I would have to say some of my favorite HP monitors, I would have to say, is like the W1901s, the 2001s. Now these are model numbers that were released over time. The 1908s, can't remember the rest of the number model that went behind them, but I just thought the video quality, even though they're only VGA monitors, they really weren't bad. I've used them for years. I went back when I was in school years ago. That was back when that was the latest and greatest. And I'd have to say I would definitely recommend those as a daily driver as a monitor. And even some of the newer monitors that Hewlett Packard has released, I haven't actually touched the monitor like from 2017, 2018, and 2019. Or I don't quite have that luxury of just buying anything new that comes out, but certain things, yes, they're cheap enough. But personally, well, even they're like 1506 LCDs from like 2006, 2007, even though they're only 15-inch displays, they're not bad either. They get the job done. They're bare bones. There's not a lot of options on them. They're not bad. I'll give you that. And even their 1706, even though it's only 4.3 pan display, it gets the job done. I got two of those sitting in the back corner. Those basically just use as test monitors. And I'll be honest, even ViewSonic doesn't make a bad monitor. I've only seen one ViewSonic that was kind of a piece of garbage. Yeah, I know that there are certain people that I've dealt with in the past that they bought a ViewSonic monitor and they didn't like it either. It was hard on the eyes. But I did a product review on a ViewSonic. I just happened to have it sitting over here. This is basically a monitor I did a review on a couple of weeks ago on the VA1912A-LED monitor. Well, this is actually an LED. This is a 2012, and the video quality of that is really not a bad monitor, other than it's just kind of small. And the guy I got it from, he bought it for his laptop. The only reason he got rid of it because he didn't use it as much anymore, and he wanted a clean house. And after using the monitor for like a couple of months, they're not bad. Well, even the Samsung monitors, I've only had one. Well, actually, I've had two of them that have crapped out on me. But one, what happened was it was one older one, it was like a 2004 Samsung monitor. It's only like this 15-inch. And that one, the electronic board went out on it. What would happen is the contrast option would pop up on your screen, and you couldn't get rid of it. And then I was thinking around with it a while ago, and then I was pushed all four buttons at one time, and it disappeared. And I was thinking, how about that? Now I don't have to look at the annoying thing in the middle of the screen. And then after a while, I had a power outage, and it came back on, and I couldn't get rid of it. And so I kind of scrapped it out because you can't sell it to anybody like that. You obviously can't use it for much of anything, so I got rid of it. I didn't give it to anybody else. I didn't just throw it in the garbage. I just physically got my tools out, tore it apart, wanted to see what was inside. I'll put it this way. There's really not much electronics other than your power supply board, and then you got your electronic board to support your VGA comes into to basically kind of tell what colors it represent. And I'm not an expert on LCD monitors, but you got your liquid crystal display, you got your plastic filter in the back, and you got a bunch of different filters behind it. And then you got a very thin metal sheet. And then you got your plastic bezels and stuff. So do yourselves a favor, tear yourself one apart and see for yourself. I've never torn an LED monitor apart, nor a cathode tube monitor, because all the phosphorus and radioactive materials that are, okay, not radioactive, but all that phosphate and phosphorus inside those cathode tubes, that's all hazardous material, so you really don't want to be breathing that stuff in or touching it, because you could get very sick off of those chemicals. So back to the topic of LCDs and LEDs and CRTs. And as far as LG monitors, I haven't really touched a lot of those. Now, the Acer monitors, I've used a few different Acers. Used the 4.3 pan display monitors. I currently got one here in the shop, or I mean the office rather. That basically, and it works fine. And then back in school, I've used quite a few different Acer LCD, LED monitors. I would have to say I would preferably go with the 19-inch instead of the 17-inch 4.3 display. It's just my preference. And last but not least, we're going to also V7 LCD monitors. Now, I'm also familiar with like 3-4 different models of the V7. As the school I went to, the technology coordinator was telling me one time that the reason he's going to buy them is they're cheap. And the last couple of years, he'd be happy. And that was actually the case. I think there's only 1 or 2 of them that died on him out of hundreds of them that he bought. I don't know the model numbers of them off the top of my head, but when you go on Amazon, they don't have all those models available. They only have the newer ones. But basically, he had like, I'm trying to think how many models. I would have to say 4 off the top of my head. He's not a technology coordinator anymore, so I can't really ask him what's what, but it's those, I believe they're LED. And as far as the new modern LED monitors go, you go to Walmart, you go to Office Max or Best Buy or Camera Corner in Green Bay. You would think for Camera Corner, the way they talk, that they would have a huge floor display of different monitors and computers and stuff, and they really don't. You would think that they would. Now, my plan for this building was originally I wanted to open a showroom up of different various electronics, computers, monitors, TVs, and you name it, but it really just didn't quite go the way I wanted to. And even as far as the other side, which is a beauty shop, or was at one point in time, I'd like to do something with that too, but it's not mine. Well, it's like if this whole building was mine, I would take the back, which was cold storage, whatever the condition was back there, tear out the freezers, get rid of all the refrigeration equipment, safely discharge all the Freon, frame it out, drywall it, put some lighting back there. I don't even know what it looks like. Fix the basement up, put a sump pump in, make it a little more usable down there, maybe turn it into a laboratory. No, I'm not talking a chemical lab. I'm just talking like doing computers or storage. And in the upstairs, I would probably make, well, the back for sure would be either office. Well, this front part here would be the office or slash showroom. Back there would probably be storage and work area. And the upstairs would be storage and probably a lunchroom in that. But I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but it's so much I like to do at this place, but can't because it's not yours to do everything that. But basically, getting back to the monitors, it's the technology is just unreal. And there's people that even use TVs as computer monitors. And that's all fine and good, but the problem is TVs are meant to be TVs. They're not really meant to be full-blown monitors. Your TVs, with your ratios, and you got limitations and stuff on that too. It doesn't always work out the way that you plan on it. Because you think, oh, I can just make TV as monitor. Now the newer computers, if you're using like HDMI or DisplayPort, your video quality is a little bit better, but with a VGA, especially on a limited TV that's only like 720 pixels or 440 or 480 or whatever the case is, just keep in mind, just because your TV is capable, that doesn't mean that it really isn't fully. It's not really meant as a gaming monitor either. Now with the TV, when it comes to like playing video games with a video game console, that's a little bit different because you're using a either composite or component hookup or HDMI. So you're going to get a little bit better video quality, but with the computer option of it, it's kind of hard. You're kind of limited to what you can do. I've been there, done that. I, for years, had a Sansui 19-inch TV. Got it at Shopko when it used to be a retail chain for Black Friday. And I used that as a computer monitor, and it kind of sucked. Your graphics weren't good. Every time you changed your computer changed the refresh rate, the TV could not determine what. So I didn't have any other monitors, so I always got stuck with doing it as I always had to recover the computer because I could not. And you're thinking, gee, at one point in time, you only had one computer and one monitor and nothing else. Yes, that actually was true. At one point in time, we only had one machine to do everything. Nowadays, I have no excuse for anything like that, so because I have more than enough surplus of electronics that I don't need to limit myself to a television set to make it work. So on that note, we'll leave it at that. Next video, still working on a product review. I just got to render it yet. That was on a 6000 or HP Compact 6000 Pro that came through the door a couple weeks ago. It's coming. A lot of other stuff is coming. It's just a matter of time when I get through rendering because I picked up another job. So that's all fine and good. It's the right timing. So on that note, we'll see you next time then.